If you read books like The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig or The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino this year and immediately said, I'm obsessed with knightcore and I need more books like this, first of all, me too. Second of all, I have 10 recommendations that are medieval or knightcore books that you have to read after reading these two. What is knightcore? It's the feeling that you get when you listen to Golden Brown by the Stranglers. These two books are probably the best and truest instances of knightcore that I can reference. If you want a gothic, dark world that sort of mixes religion with a very traditional knight and kingdom world, this is for you. Our main character's name is Sybil. People trade and pay money for her to divine their future. Not only her, but she's part of this sisterhood known as the Diviners, who do this for people of Stonewater Kingdom. In her dreams, she receives visions from 6 unearthly figures known as the Omens, and from them she can predict terrible things before they occur, and lords and common folk alike travel across their kingdom to learn their futures by her dreams. Just as her and her sisters are nearing the end of their service, that's sort of like the religious aspect of it, they sort of live at this abbey of sorts. They're coming to the end of their service. A very rude, mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral. Knight Roderick has no respect for Sybil, the Diviners, these visions. Sybil has no choice but to ask for his help when her sisters begin disappearing very concerningly and unexpectedly. Roderick is my favorite book boyfriend of absolutely all time, hands down. The only one that compares is the MMC in this book, The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. Our knight is Gray. Gray Flynn has dedicated her life to her mage, Kier. She is his blade, healer, and protector on the battlefield, but he is able to wield his magic through her. She sort of acts like a well to her mage. When a quest to protect the child of an enemy kingdom pulls them into the dangerous heart of their nation's war, Gray and Kier will need to decide what they're willing to sacrifice to protect their secret. For Gray is no ordinary magical well, but heir to the lost island of Locke and the root of all power. If she dies, all magic dies with her. When I tell you I haven't read yearning like this in any of the 697 books that I've read on Goodreads, the yearning in this is unparalleled. So besides these two books that just represent knightcore so well, I'm gonna talk to you about 10 additional book recommendations that fit this vibe. I'm going to have different classifications. I'm going to have knightcore, which is much more romantically oriented. One of our main characters is a knight in the story, and it's geared towards romance, like fantasy romance. I'm also going to have another category of books that I'm going to refer to as medieval. I want the medieval aesthetic, and that's what I'm chasing. And so these are the books that I have found that fit either knightcore romance or medieval horror, but also like fantasy. We'll start with a sapphic knightcore book called The Isle in the Silver Sea by Tasha Suri. I've read a little bit of a different book by Tasha Suri, and I can already attest that her fantasy writing style is absolutely gorgeous. Sapphic longing, medieval folklore, and a love that spans centuries. That's all I needed to know. We have a knight and a witch who are fated to fall in love over and over and over again, but when they fall in love with each other, they doom each other. Shut up right now. Simran is the witch of the woods. Vina is the knight of the queen's court. When the two women begin to fall for each other, how can they surrender to their desires when to give in is to destroy each other? As they seek a way to break the cycle, a mysterious assassin begins targeting tales like theirs, and to survive, the two will need to write a story stronger than the one that fate has given them. But what tale is stronger than the witch and the knight? Now I'm going to switch to more of a like medieval book. This is not horror, I believe. Sometimes I hear it described as medieval horror, and then other times I hear it described as dark medieval fantasy. So make of that what you will. I think that the story will be on the darker side of things, whether it crosses that line of horror for you or not, potentially. It's called Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Christopher Buehlman wrote The Black Tongue Thief. If you've read that, his writing style is unique. It is entirely immersive, almost overwhelmingly so. Also, his audiobooks are phenomenal. Christopher Buehlman is an author who is deep in the Ren Fair community. He loves to act out at Ren Fairs and like play a character, and that comes across in his writing, and it also comes across in his audiobooks. This is a story of temptation and corruption, of war in heaven and of hell on earth. Lucifer said, "Let us rise against him now in all our numbers and put the walls of heaven down." This takes place in the 1300s. Thomas is a disgraced knight and has found a young girl alone in a dead Norman village, an orphan of the Black Death, so plague times, and an almost unnerving picture of innocence. She tells Thomas that the plague is only part of a larger cataclysm and that fallen angels under Lucifer are rising in a second war on heaven. She believes she has seen the angels of God. She believes the righteous dead speak to her in dreams. And now she's convinced the faithless Thomas to shepherd her across a depraved landscape to Avignon to confront this evil that's causing devastation, to restore this betrayed, murderous knight, Thomas, and nobility, and the hope of salvation that he's long abandoned. It's sort of giving similar themes, I would say, to Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, if you've read those books. Not exactly, because there's not vampires, but the themes of that story are similar. And I also think of like Supernatural with this whole like angel devil corruption taking over the world. If you've watched the later seasons of Supernatural, maybe that reference will make sense. Next up is a really short book, but I'm going to classify it under knightcore. I think it's more romantically oriented. It's called The Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. I actually have another knightcore book by Alex E. Harrow on this list that we will get to, but this is a short story, so it's only 31 pages. It has to do with the Saint of War sparing the life of a servant girl so she can fulfill her destiny as the kingdom's greatest warrior. Period. I love a lady knight. I'm never not going to love a lady knight. Always mindful of the debt she owes, the girl finds her worth as a weapon of the prince. Her victories make him a king, then an emperor. The bards sing her name and her enemies fear it, but the war never ends and the cost keeps rising. How many times will she repeat her own story? If you don't know anything about knightcore and you want to maybe give it a try, this would be a good short story to start with because it's very low commitment and you can get the vibes of what's happening. This one has been quite popular since its release and I'm very excited to get to it. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. This has medieval vibes. I don't know the exact time period that this takes place. The Devils, I think, is more of a dark fantasy, but also could cross the line of horror as well, with a lot of creepy religious undertones. And our main character, I don't know if he's a monk exactly. His name is Brother Diaz. He's been summoned to the sacred city where he's sure that a grand holy assignment is waiting for him. But he has this group of followers, he calls them his flock, that's made up of some questionable people, unrepentant murderers, practitioners of ghastly magic, and outright monsters. The mission he's tasked with will require bloody measures from them all in order to achieve righteous ends. I think that morality comes into question with this one of like, maybe it's a righteous cause, but you have some very questionable people that you're working with to achieve this end goal. Elves lurk at our borders and hunger for our flesh, while greedy princes care for nothing but their own ambitions and comfort. With an epic hellish story before him, it's a good thing Brother Diaz has devils on his side. And I would just show you the end page art for this. I love this aesthetic. Another one by Alex E. Harrow. This was also recently released, I want to say in October, called The Everlasting. This is a full-length adult fantasy romance knightcore novel. We have another lady knight. This follows Una Everlasting. Her legend built her nation. And then we also follow a cowardly historian who is sent back in time to make sure that she plays her part even if it breaks his heart. So Sir Una Everlasting was Dominion's greatest hero, an orphaned girl who became a knight and died for her queen and country. Centuries later, Owen Mallory, a failed soldier, struggling scholar, falls in love with the tale of Una Everlasting. Her story takes him to war, to the archives, and then to the past, where he meets up with her. They're entangled together in time, bound to retell the same story over and over again, no matter what it costs. But the story always ends the same way. If they want to rewrite Una's legend, if they want to tell a different story, they have to rewrite history itself. I'm actually reading this one right now. I'm probably almost halfway through. This one is like Groundhog Day. They keep reliving the same story, and you experience their love story through different eyes. Like, you switch between Owen's perspective, you switch between Una's perspective, what they first thought of each other when they first saw each other, and then how they continue to try to change history to be together. Switching back to a medieval book, it's called Nicked by M.T. Anderson. This one says medieval fantasy, and it does say queer. I didn't know that when I first put it on this list. It's described as a raucous and slyly funny adult fiction debut. It's based on a true quest. I'm hoping that it's not overly historical though, because I don't want to be bored reading this. I want like a hee hee ha ha fantasy medieval moment. You know what I mean? But it's based on a true quest to steal the mystical corpse of a long dead saint. T. The year is 1087. A pox is sweeping through the Italian city of Bari, when a lowly monk is visited by Saint Nicholas in his dreams, and he interprets the vision as a call to serve the sick. But his superiors have different plans for him. Enter Tyan, a charismatic treasure hunter renowned for liberating holy relics. The 700-year-old bones of Saint Nicholas are rumored to weep a mysterious liquid, disgusting, that can heal the sick. For the humble price of a small fortune, Tyan will steal the bones and deliver them to Bari, curing the plague and restoring glory to the fallen city. And the lowly monk is supposed to be his guide on this journey. It's a short one. It's only 220 pages, but I thought that it fit that aesthetic, and it's more of like an adventure story. So I don't know how fantasy leaning it will be, but it seems like it would be a funny tale. I have another short story for you. I didn't realize that this was a short story, but the cover of this book, incredible. I think that it's dark fantasy, but I do think that really does push that horror boundary. It's called Helmuth by Giles Christian. It's 50 pages. It says, Bohemia, 1370. A lost soul named Galen leads a band of hardened mercenaries on a mission for Mother Church. Now they call me Mother. But in the dark forests of Central Europe, a darker secret awaits. Let's talk about a medieval series. It's called The Traitor Sun Cycle. The first book is called The Red Knight, and this is by Miles Cameron. I have heard that if you want medieval aesthetic, this is one of the series that you absolutely have to read. We have a knight who's leading a company of men, or worse, a company of mercenaries, against smart, deadly creatures of the wild. Our main character, the Red Knight, is determined to turn a profit. So when he hires his company to protect an abbess and her nunnery, it's just another job, but the abbey is rich, the nuns are pretty, and the monsters preying on them is nothing he can't deal with. Only, it's not just a job. It's going to be a war. ... That's all we get. I literally know nothing about this except that it's one of the like classic medieval fantasy books that so many people have read, and it probably has one of the higher Goodreads and like overall ratings when I've looked up medieval series. My final two are going to be knightcore, back on the more romantic side of things. I have to talk about One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I know that I have already mentioned her with The Knight and the Moth. Before I read this and fell in love and it became my top book of literally forever, I read One Dark Window and I also felt very similarly. Even though I wouldn't say it's like perfect medieval knightcore, we do have our MMC as the captain of the guard. Before I fell so deeply in love with Rory, I felt the exact same way about Raven. Our main character, I have so much trouble saying her name. It's the most tongue-twistery name. Elspeth Spindle. I got that on the first try. Needs more luck to stay safe in the eerie, mist-locked kingdom of Blunder. She needs a monster. She calls him the Nightmare, an ancient mercurial spirit that's trapped in her head. He protects her, he keeps her secrets, but nothing comes for free, especially magic. When Elspeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, her life takes a drastic turn. Thrust into the world of shadow and deception, she joins a dangerous quest to cure Blunder of the dark magic that's infecting it, except the highwayman turns out to be the king's own nephew, captain of the most dangerous men in Blunder and guilty of high treason. Raven, he's complicated. He's complicated and I'm obsessed with him. Then the final books that I'm going to mention, I'm going to mention the whole series even though I'm holding up Paladin's Grace. The rest of the series is actually on this bookshelf right here. Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. If you are looking for a romantic knightcore medieval aesthetic that's silly goofy, will have you laughing out loud, it's much more of a cozy romance than any of the other books that I've mentioned. Grace finds herself pursued by ruffians and rescued by a handsome paladin in a shining armor, only to outwit her hunters. They must pretend to be doing something very unrespectable in an alleyway. Stephen, a broken paladin, spends his time knitting socks and working as a bodyguard, living only for the chance to be useful. But all changes when he saves Grace and witnesses an assassination attempt gone wrong. Now Stephen and Grace must navigate a web of treachery and poisoners, while a cryptic killer stalks one step behind. There is a mystery involved in here as well, that like killer aspect. They get entangled in so much court nonsense. So friends, those are 10, technically 12 if you want to count our original source material, recommendations for knightcore and medieval core. If you're as obsessed with this entire trend as I am, please let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you would like more videos like this. Also, please like this video if you want me to do more medieval core book recommendation videos, because I'm happy to. I'm fully immersed in this trend. I ordered a tapestry to go up behind my bed. I'm also going to be learning how to make chainmail jewelry in 2026 as a new hobby because I'm so obsessed. I'll catch you in the comments and I'll see you in my next one very soon.